Okay, so in the last video, you were using a right triangle and finding the length of the hypotenuse. So just a really quick review. Remember, we know that this is a right triangle because we've got this right angle symbol right here. So if it has a right angle, then it must be a right triangle. The legs of the right triangle are always the two that make up that right angle. So wherever you see that little symbol, the right angle symbol, those two sides that make up that angle, they're the legs. And then this third side, the side that is opposite the right angle, that's always your hypotenuse. The formula, if we remember, the Pythagorean theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And remember that a and b are the legs. It doesn't really matter which one's a and which one's b, but it does matter which one's c, because c is always the hypotenuse. It's always the biggest side. And it's always across from the right angle. Okay, so the last time we used the formula and we figured out when we were missing c. Now this time we're going to do a problem where you're missing one of the legs. It's just a little bit different. So we're still going to use the same formula. Let me give you some numbers here. So let's say that this leg is 7.5 centimeters and the hypotenuse is 10.2 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to get my calculator out. The formula says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. By the way, let's make this x since we don't know what one of the legs is. So a squared plus b squared. Let's say a is my x, so x squared plus 7.5 squared. That has to be the same as 10.2 squared. Now some of you guys are going to take shortcuts. Don't take a shortcut. It doesn't take you long to write this stuff down. So let's square it. 7.5 squared, which means 7.5 times 7.5 is 56.25. I don't know what x is, so x squared is still x squared, and 10.2 squared is 104.04. Now here's the deal. This time we're missing one of the legs, and you notice x is over on the left-hand side this time. Whoops. Sorry. Okay, so this time x is right here. All right, and we still have this 5.6 with it, so we need to do something to get it to the other side. Well, think about solving equations. We're going to have to subtract 56.25. You guys already know how to do that, so subtract 56.25. That way we'll get the x squared by itself. So 104.04 minus 56.25, and that ends up being 40. Here, let me do this. So I get 47.79, and that's what x squared equals since all this stuff canceled out. So now it's just like I told you in the last video, to undo an x squared, and we need to do that because I want to know what x is, not x squared, so I have to use the square root button to undo x squared, and I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So I'm going to hit the second button, which is blue, and then the x squared button, and type in 47.79, and I get 6.913031173. It's got a lot of digits after the decimal, but I'm going to round it. After the 9 is a 1, and hopefully you're doing this with me so you know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to write my answer over here. So I get x by itself, no more x squared, and I'm just going to make it 6.9 centimeters, and that would be my final answer. So basically, if you're missing one of the legs, that's one of the two sides that make up the right angle, you're going to end up subtracting after you square the numbers. Okay, so square them, subtract them, then the last step is always to take the square root.